Please help me welcome Robert Christian Minson with his speech today, Developing Your Intuition to Improve Your Life and Decision Making. Developing your intuition to improve your life and decision making. Robert Christian Minson.
Thank you. Let's give a big round of applause to Ray for that wonderful introduction. Yeah! And then how about a round of applause to the San Diego Fair for giving us this wonderful stage on the botanical area next to the wine garden. I'm glad they didn't put us near the livestock. All right, our subject today is intuition. And I'd like to begin by asking a question. By a show of hands, how many of you know what I'm going to say next? All right. Now, isn't that how we fantasize about intuition? That it's some way to predict the future so that we can run off to Las Vegas and win big at blackjack or something like that, right? Well, on a more serious note, how many of you have important decisions to make in your life? Yeah, I dare say everybody. Decisions where the choices that you have, it might not be clear which one is really the right one. Wouldn't it be great if you could have a way to be confident about the choices you make, the decisions that you can take, and know that they're going to be right for you? Well, that's exactly what I'm here to talk to you about today. And it begins with understanding and using your intuition. So what is intuition? Well, I looked it up in the dictionary, the definition, and a couple different dictionaries. They vary a little bit, but it runs around the same thing. For instance, intuition, the ability to understand something immediately without fully understanding why. Or intuition, a thing that one knows and considers likely from instinctive feeling rather than conscious reasoning. Well, intuition is most commonly known as a hunch, an instinct, a gut feeling. And it's often, because it's related to feeling and often bypasses our rational faculties, we feel like it's something that is reserved for the few, that it's a mystical experience. Well, I'm here today to tell you that intuition is something that we all possess. It's something that we can all use to improve our lives. It's something that we can help to make decisions, to make choices, to navigate through situations, to avoid shiny objects that might seem good on the surface, but when we get into it, aren't necessarily the best thing for us. Our intuition is like a road with big signs along the way that signal us that we're about to make a wrong turn. That is, if we're willing to pay attention to them. And if you're not, well, let me tell you a story about that. One summer, I was on a road trip through Colorado, and my attention was on the majestic Rocky Mountains, glorious in their grandeur, but potentially deadly to those unskilled at their navigation. Well, I had two tools of navigation at my disposal. First, my GPS, Global Positioning System. Second, my GCS, Gut Check System. My intuition, right? Well, because I had such implicit faith in that magic little box, I told my gut to take the day off. Well, I had a route from Aspen, Colorado to Crested Butte. I plugged it into the GPS and it charted a course over some of the taller peaks of the Rockies, through a channel called Pearl Pass, to descend to get me down to my destination in a little over 2 hours' time. How difficult could it be? Well, I set out on the road driving, called my contact in Crested Butte. I said, "Hey, I'm really looking forward to seeing you. Yeah, I should be there in about 2 hours. The GPS has me going over Pearl Pass." She paused and said, Pearl Pass? I'm not sure you want to. Just then, silence. I'd driven too deeply into the mountains and they'd cut off the cell phone signal. Well, I wonder what she was going to say, I thought to myself. But because my gut was offline, I said, I guess it doesn't matter that much. And onward I went, completely ignoring the very first warning sign on that intuitive road, entering blissful ignorance. Well, a little ways down the line, the GPS comes on. It says, in 400 feet, turn right. They always sound so smug and self-assured, don't they? But obediently, right I turned onto a 2-lane dirt road running right down the middle of a campground. Interesting, I thought, but I continued on. Miles past, the dirt starts to turn to rocks, and the 2 lanes shrink down into 1. Once again, I thought, this is kind of strange for a mountain pass road. I mean, what if somebody comes from the other direction? How are we going to get around each other? By the way, how come I haven't seen anybody coming from the other direction yet? Well, despite these logical questions, I passed on, again ignoring the next warning sign that said, entering delusional optimism. I'm on an adventure, I told myself, a Rocky Mountain adventure in my 4-wheel drive Jeep Grand Cherokee, luxury edition. So, continued on, but the road only got steeper, slower, more rocky, definitely more treacherous. Which came up with the next warning sign, approaching ego justification. I said, I'm not gonna quit. Robert Christian Minson never quits. Heck, I got me a 4-wheel drive Jeep Grand Cherokee, luxury edition. Bring it on. And on it was brought. In the form of my next challenge, what I describe as a kind of mountain cliff scenario. Sheer wall on one side, sheer drop on the other, with a path only inches wider than the vehicle to navigate the now very bouldery terrain. Well, at this point I thought maybe it's a good idea to check in with my gut just to see if it has anything useful to say, you know? Hello? What? You checking in with me now? You want my opinion now? I'll give you my opinion. We're gonna die! Turn around! Well, I wanted to turn around, but I couldn't. Thus, I said bye-bye to the very last warning sign. Obligated commitment to an ideal you no longer believe in. Well, reluctantly, I continued on up that path until, rounding a corner, the rocky road turns into a rocky riverbed. That's right, water was flowing right down the path and right over the edge, and a very beautiful waterfall there. At this point, I had to concede that my gut was probably right. I stood a better chance of surviving, no matter how slim, by trying to turn around than by continuing on up that mountain. So for the better part of the next hour, I engaged in a painstaking 100-point turn, going 3 inches backwards. Dear Lord, don't let me fall off this cliff. Turn 3 inches forward. Did I tell you I'm thinking of going back to church? Turn 3 inches backwards. I want my mommy. Turn forward, back, forward. Finally, I get that Jeep turned downhill. Just then the GPS chimes in. Make a U-turn and proceed on your programmed route. I guess that's why they call it artificial intelligence. Well, you can imagine how relieved I was to make it down that mountain in one piece. And I have to tell you, I learned a very important lesson that day, to trust my intuition, my gut check system, above and beyond anything else trying to give me information. Now, how about you? I know there's situations in your life, forks in the road, decisions to make, choices to choose. And just like my GPS was for me, I know you have credible sources trying to give you information, be they parents, teachers, bosses, counselors, internet bloggers, astrological chart readers, you name it. Everyone has an opinion on what is best for you. And if you don't know yourself, you're likely to listen to the loudest voice in the crowd. And that, unfortunately, is not always the wisest voice. And that usually ends up in regret. For this reason, I want to share with you today a specific but very potently powerful 4-step process that I developed to help you tune in with your intuition and to help you make decisions and choices that are going to resonate with you. This comes from my chapter in the book that was a bestseller that I helped publish. And the first step, find a quiet place that you can sit undisturbed. Okay, you want to make sure your spine's straight. You can lean back against a chair. You can lie down if you need to. Find a quiet place. Step number 2 is to, let's read it here. First, clearly define each of the options that's available to you. There might be 2, should I stay or should I go? There might be more options, but clearly define each of those options. It helps sometimes to write them out in detail. Once you've got those options, step number 3 is to take the first of those options in your mind and begin to think about it. As you do so, I want you to start breathing in a particular way, taking a nice full inhale, a relaxed exhale, and a consistent, continual flow. It's at a slightly accelerated pace, like you're going on a walk to get some exercise, something like. So you're breathing this breath, and you've got the choice in your mind. Step number 4 then is to drop your attention into your heart center and begin to feel whatever it is that you feel about this choice. All right? And you continue to breathe, think about your choice, and feel until you come up with some definitive feelings. Then you repeat. Repeat those 4 steps for each of the different choices that you have till you come up with feelings for each of them. For instance, do you feel contracted or do you feel expansive? Do you feel joyous or do you feel apprehensive? Does your breath flow smoothly and openly or does it feel shut down or stilted? The choice that comes with an open, joyous, flowing feeling is your intuition telling you that that is the choice for you. Trust it. Trust your gut check system and make the choice. You won't regret it. So I've shared with you what intuition is, let you know that it's something that's available to all of us. I've taken you on a little journey that showed you what can happen if you don't trust your intuition. And ultimately, I've given you a process that you can begin to use immediately as soon as you leave here to help you make better decisions in your life and improve the quality of your experience. My final words are, as you go through this process, you're bound to make a few mistakes. Now, so be gentle, be kind with yourself. After all, as the saying goes, to err is human. To really screw things up, that takes a computer. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian.